Phil and Joy, I'm not getting any audio.
How about now, Nick?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Was that you, Joy?
Oh no, there's a delay.
Yep. Tim, can you hear me? So the mayor has joined us.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we'll try to mute you.
Okay. Hey, I just want to apologize. I won't be able to stay for the whole meeting, but I wanted to at least be here for the beginning. Were you able to hear that okay?
Yep,
Okay, great.
we got some sort of loop going.
Yeah, there's a loop echo.
I'm not hearing it on my side, just FYI.
I hear myself. All right, if everyone can turn off their mics so that if it could be heard, you might have to press it hard until it's green.
Yep.
Green is on. Green is off.
Green is on.
It's a thing. The ones up there are one. Yeah.
All right, I think everyone's ready. Thank you so much. So this is the very first meeting of the Citizen Advisory Committee for the Transportation System Plan Update. I welcome all of you from diverse communities within Sherwood, which is excellent. I am Joy Chang. I am the project manager for this project. And along with me today is Phil from Kittleson and Associates, and he can introduce himself and the rest of the team. So welcome, and we have a couple of snacks and really ice cold water for you. If you guys are interested, feel free. And those that aren't familiar with this facility, the restrooms are out in the lobby. So feel free to get up at any time to use them or get some snacks.
I'm gonna have Jason introduce himself and then.
Of course.
Yeah, Jason Waters, city engineer with the city of Sherwood. Here working with Joy on the project and hoping to get the most efficient use of the funds that we have allocated, the TSP, and integrate existing plans that we already have completed. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Phil Worth. I'm a consultant that's been hired by the city to help prepare this update of your transportation system plan. I've lived and worked in the area for coming up on 35 years. So I've begun to find my way around at least. And since transportation planning is what I specialize in, I'd better know how to get around, right? I have a colleague with me this evening that's joining remotely, and we're doing this really as a test to make sure that even those who can only join this way or choose to join this way still have a kind of a full experience. So Nick, if you'll say hello and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Nick Meltzer, Associate Planner and Engineer with Kittleson Associates, and I'm supporting Phil on this effort.
So thank you, Nick. With that, Mayor, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Is the echo still there?
No, I think we're good.
Oh, good. Then I'm gonna get rid of this. I was gonna dial in with this other thing. Um, oh, well, hi, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I would just want to say I really appreciate all the volunteers we have in the room that are helping us out with this effort. It is an important effort that we go through on a periodic basis in the city and understanding what our TSP is going to look like in the future. And we really value the community input. So thank you all for being here. As I mentioned earlier, I apologize. I will have to leave a little bit early tonight. My wife has had prior plans for me tonight, but Keith Mays is there, one of our city councilors, and he probably knows more about transportation than I will ever know. So he'll be a great asset for you in the meeting. But again, welcome and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. All right.
All
Council,
right.
yes.
I'm Keith Mays, city councilor, with the city of Sherwood, former mayor and other stuff. Been involved in the community for 30 years, lived here for 31. And happy to be here. This will be I think my first time on the advisory committee, maybe done it once before, but my third TSP project, so it's good. Fun stuff, roads, trails.
Hi, I'm Hella Betts. I'm from Sherwood West. I have a lot of suggestions. And I've been here over 30 years. I was on the first Sherwood West committee when it was going to be put into the UGB. And that's it.
I am Lisa Patterson. I'm here as a city resident at large. I also sit on the Traffic Advisory Board, and I've been a resident of Sherwood for 4 years.
I'm Jason Wirtz. I'm here representing the Traffic Safety Board. And I have been in Sherwood for 20+ years.
Hi, I'm Alex Whitaker. I'm relatively new to Sherwood. I've only lived here a year and a half now, from Austin, Texas. I'm a residential and commercial designer. Just wanted to volunteer because I was excited about being a part of the group.
I'm Shauna O'Neill. I've lived in Sherwood for a total of 9 years. I run the e-bike store here in Old Town. I also live here in Old Town.
Hi, I'm Brady Strutz. I'm here with Sherwood School District. I'm the Chief Operations Officer there. I've worked in Sherwood for 17 years, and I've lived in Sherwood for about 5. Happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Cliff Taylor. Been here in Sherwood for 28 years, and I'm representing Senior Advisory Board, so got things to say.
I'm Jim Booker. I'm the one who gets in your way as you're going into park because I live in a Bowman house 2 houses down. So I'm walking over. That's my pedestrian thing for the day. I also am a regular bike rider as well. The 2 different varieties of bicycle in town today. My wife was on the road twice in and out of town today. So we're heavy consumers of transportation in town. I should also mention I have done all but 3 streets of Sherwood walking from my front door. 2 cul-de-sacs and 1 road at the Commerce Center have yet to be done.
Well, welcome to all of you. It's really an honor to be able to meet with you through this process, hear from you, your interests and concerns about the city, how we can shape a transportation system that meets the needs of the people that are here today and the people that are coming in the future. This is a long-range plan. It's 20 years is the horizon that we're looking at. So we're not only trying to understand today's needs and how to meet them, but also trying to estimate or predict the future and come up with strategies for how we accommodate those future demands. This evening, we're going to kick the whole project off, go through a lot of kind of the mechanics of how we do this. So we'll kind of walk you through what I might call a transportation system plan 101. What is a plan? Why do we do them? What do we hope to accomplish by doing this plan update? But the most valuable part of this meeting tonight is going to be spending time with you, reviewing an early draft of a vision statement for this TSP and a draft set of goals that have been written. They're informed through a variety of sources, and I'll share that later. But what we're really hoping for is that you can help us to make these words fit the community, yourselves as representatives of the community, and what we all aspire for with regard to Sherwood's transportation system. So that's the bulk of the meeting is focused around that. And so we'll try and get through the early material that's going to feel more like a monologue, sorry, so that we can get to that dialogue as quickly as we can. We'll rely on a presentation that is going to display on the screen behind me, but it's in fact in the packet that was sent to you about a week ahead of time. So hopefully you received it and have had a chance to kind of peruse that. But we'll walk through that slide by slide and talk briefly about everything that is represented there. And along the way, I really encourage you to stop me, ask questions, kind of probe, and share thoughts and comments with one another. It's as much a conversation between each of you as it is a conversation with Jason, Joy, and myself. So that's what we're striving for. And with that, Nick, if you would switch to the PowerPoint presentation, we've already accomplished a few of the slides. So we'll kind of go through these first fairly quickly. Joy, Jason, and I are part of what we call the project team. Someone who's not here this evening, but actively involved is Richard Sattler. And then on the consulting side, you see more faces along the bottom. Nick is, of course, joining remotely. Russ, Lakshmi, and Pavi are not here this evening. But that makes up most of the consulting team. There is another member of the team, a firm called 3J, that's a local firm who helped prepare your comprehensive plan. And so they're really rooted, grounded in your long-range plans from a land use perspective. And they're helping bring that perspective and their code and ordinance capabilities as a part of this whole process. And so occasionally you'll see representatives from that firm as well.
What was the name of that firm?
3J Consulting. They're based in Beaverton. So you've already done a self-introduction, and thank you for doing that. We may come back later in the evening and ask you to share kind of a top of mind thought about, once you've heard what a TSP, you'll hear me say those three letters 100 times, what a transportation system plan is and what you personally are hoping for, or as a representative of your community, what you're hoping to accomplish. I expect that hope might evolve a little bit over the next 18 to 21 months that we spend together. So it doesn't hurt to start with whatever is on your heart or top of mind in response to that. Go ahead, Nick. Here is a quick look at our agenda. So we've already done the welcome and introductions. Each meeting that we have, Joy is going to take a moment under the community comments portion of the meeting right up front to read to you comments that have come into the city from the community about the plan, the planning process. It's possible that members of the community would even come and attend in person, and we would create this window of time for them to offer those comments. There aren't any tonight, correct?
That is correct. We did not receive any comments, but again, We send notice in regards to this meeting for the opportunity to provide comment, and the public is always welcome. And so we always carve out a little item time within our agenda to welcome those. And typically, if someone does come, we would, or if they did submit written testimony, we would present those. But then we would not be having direct dialogue with the public. We would just follow up with them later on.
Just a follow-up on that, are we going to be on Zoom for all of our meetings and will the public be able to join in by Zoom as well?
It's not, it is a public meeting, so we do have to broadcast it.
It's broadcast on YouTube.
And so they can, and then participant, there is an access by law. The state doesn't follow it at the state level. The legislature doesn't follow their rules that they impose on us, which is interesting. But yeah, we do virtual. So if somebody can't attend in person, they can do so remotely.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to just chime in on this real quick too. You know, these to the public, these can seem like really dry meetings. So I really encourage everyone as we work through this process over the next year or so, you know, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, let them know what's going on, get their thoughts, encourage them to engage because it's important. We want the community input as we work through these things. That's like number one for me. But sometimes it's a challenge getting folks to engage on these things.
I couldn't have said that better. In fact, that really speaks to one of the key roles that each of you serves, which is to be a liaison, a connection from us to the community and back again. So find whatever means you're comfortable with in terms of reaching out and engaging those in your neighborhood, businesses, and the like, to help us understand the interests of the community. Nick, if you'll go on. So the next section is where Nick's going to walk you through this Transportation System Planning 101 and give you a little bit of a grounding in what drives the need for a plan and what the purpose of the plan is. So go ahead, Nick.
Thanks, Phil. So it sounds like some folks in the room have been through a TSP update before, Transportation System Plan update before. Other folks may be aware of kind of the role transportation system plans play in the community and across Oregon. They're more popular in Oregon than in other states. So if anyone's moved from other states, it may be kind of a new idea or topic for you, but we'll kind of walk through so everyone's on the same page. So folks are probably familiar with comprehensive plans, which are kind of a 20-year framework for communities that identifies how they're going to grow over time. The transportation system plan is the transportation element of that. And so it's really a 20-year vision that sets community goals for transportation. It describes the current system and what you want the future system to be. And then it describes how to implement that system through projects, programs, and policies. It answers questions that you can see here. So what kind of system do you want in the future? What do you have now and how well does it work? What improvements are needed now and what improvements will be needed in the future? How will we fund those improvements? And what should we do first? And these plans account for all modes. So that's people walking, biking, driving, rolling, as well as using transit. So there's a few things that are required in transportation system plan, and then the next few slides we'll talk about kind of a little more detail on what's required, what you can include, and what you can choose to include. So community engagement through the statewide rules is a required part of transportation system plan. So that involves your role here, but as well as engaging with the broader community. Goals, objectives, and performance measures. So that's kind of how we decide what we want in the future and then how we're going to achieve it. Existing conditions, so how does the system operate today? Where are there gaps in the walking or biking system? Moving into future conditions, with the growth projected in Sherwood, what do we expect to be problematic in the future? how do we identify solutions for those areas that are going to be problematic? And then how do we kind of rank those solutions? How do we fund them? And then we compile all that information into a document at the end that's adopted by the city council. Some background to why is Sherwood updating their TSP now. Part of it is there's new legal requirements, and I'll spend a minute or two talking about these, but they're called the Climate Friendly and Equitable Community Rules. Those updated the transportation planning rules that Oregon has in statute. These new CFEC rules required an update to transportation system plans, but Sherwood's TSP is also about 10 years old, which is the recommended update frequency. And so it also kind of timed out well that there's new rules. It was about time to update Sherwood's TSP, and the community is growing. So it was really an opportunity to meet new state goals, to update the plan, and to really talk about what the community wants for the future in the transportation system. So the time frame of the plan will move out to 2046, 2047 is typically a 20-year plan, and that's 20 years from adoption. And this list of projects that will come out of the transportation system plan will also inform the city's 5-year capital improvement plan, as well as land development conditions of approval.
Can I just add a little bit to this, if you don't mind?
Please.
Yeah, I did, and I apologize again. I'm going to have to drop off here, but this is incredibly important work because it helps us understand not only what the future state looks like, but we kind of line up all the projects that we're going to need to implement that future state. And over the last 5 years, we've been really successful in bringing in outside grant money, earmarks at the federal level, and different opportunities to fund those projects. And the key to making that happen is we have a plan. We have projects that a certain level of work and due diligence has been started. Maybe even we've gotten to like 30% engineering. And to really qualify for those grants and bring in federal and state money requires that we do this work. And so I just can't emphasize how important this stuff is, and understanding what it's going to look like, what those projects look like, so we can, as I always tell people, we can get grant ready and be able to go after those outside funds to make these projects happen. Because when we get through this and you list out all the projects, it looks unattainable in terms of funding, but it's really important work. So I just wanted to emphasize that a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. So a little more detail on what this climate friendly and equitable communities means. So there was new transportation planning rules from the Governor Kate Brown's 2020 executive order. It instructed agencies to work on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The Department of Land Conservation and Development, DLCD, then developed new rules. They govern the transportation planning rule, or they help set the guidelines for the transportation planning rule. They came up with new rules for cities to implement. And while the overall requirements are largely the same, there's some additional focus in a few areas. And so performance measures and targets have more of a focus in using prioritizing projects. The fiscally constrained project list. And so if that term is unfamiliar to folks, what that means is we'll look at the amount of money the city projects to have over the next 20 years. And that's what sets the threshold for the financially constrained list. And then we fit projects into that budget amount. That list must reduce per capita vehicle miles traveled. And so what that means is there's tools called travel demand modeling that Oregon Metro uses to measure and estimate basically how far each person in each household travels each day or each year. And the financially constrained project list must reduce that per person household vehicle miles traveled over the next 20 years.
So Nick, this particular slide is not in part of your packet for some odd reason, just if you were looking for it.
Thank you, Joy.
I'm just letting everyone know
sorry
they were
about
looking. Yeah, they were looking for it, and it's like, where is it? So just we'll definitely send an updated presentation that includes the slide.
Okay.
Equity. Can we
Go
spend a
ahead.
minute on this idea of per capita vehicle miles traveled going down?
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's a lot. That's a mouthful.
It is.
It is.
And It's a rather important point.
What does it really mean?
What does it really mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that there's two pieces of it. There's kind of what it is and then how we measure it. And so let's start with what it is. And so let's say, um, you know, you live in a household of two people. Um, each day you go to work, you go to the store. The other person in the household runs errands, goes to school, comes home. The total number of miles that you traveled that day, let's say that's 50 miles. And then there's two people in the household. So the per capita vehicle miles traveled for that day is 25 miles per person. And so that's how it's defined. And then how it's measured is using what's called the travel demand model, which is um, a model that looks at kind of a mathematical model that looks at kind of demographics of people, where they live, their age, and it kind of has some predetermined travel patterns of those people. And so it says people that are of this background that live in this home type generally travel this many miles per day or per year. And so that's the tool we use to measure it. And so what that means is those models can incorporate, are sensitive enough to incorporate different projects. And so let's say you um, add a new shared use path from one part of town to another, the model can kind of incorporate that. Let's say you add a new roadway from one part of town to another, the model can incorporate that. And what it does is it kind of takes all that information and it says, based on the projects you've input into this model, this is what we project the future miles traveled per person will be in 20 years.
Just a quick follow-up. Does Metro staff run that model for us?
Yes. Yeah. So he he began to give you an answer. Did that suffice?
Yeah, that's sufficient for now.
Okay. And we will revisit this regularly. So
Yeah,
I appreciate the question.
And if I could just add before I duck off the call here, this is a executive order. I believe it was a previous governor put out that started a rulemaking process at the state level that put together all these rules. It's a real challenge for us because it's a one size fit model for all cities. So, when you talk about vehicle miles, there's so many things that go into it that go way beyond just a transportation plan. We can't control TriMet and their bus schedules. I mean, there's just a lot of issues that we'll have challenges around with this. We have 9,000 people that leave our city every day to go work in the work centers over in Aloha, Wilsonville, Intel, Nike, et cetera. And they're driving cars, because we don't have, TriMet doesn't have a system that supports moving those people between where they work and where they live as far as Sherwood is concerned. So this is a challenge for us as we move forward. But as speaking on the political side, I just wanted to throw that out there. That this is something we're going to have to work through, but it is a state requirement that we do it.
Yeah, thanks for those comments.
Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. Thanks, everyone.
All right, a few other things to touch on. So equity must be woven into the engagement process as well as the project prioritization process, and that engagement must be documented in the plan. Coordination with other agencies is required, and certain roadway projects require what's called an enhanced review. And so a little more detail on that, and we will again talk about this more in the future. But if Sherwood is planning a new roadway that's more than one lane in either direction, it requires what's called an enhanced review, and that's through the new statewide rules. In addition to new roads, if roads within the city limits are considering being expanded, say from 2 lanes to 4 lanes or from 3 lanes to 5 lanes, those also have to go through this process, which documents what other alternatives have you explored and how is that going to impact kind of the communities and businesses along that corridor. Okay, so getting back to kind of the what transportation system plans must do, should do, and can do. So one of the more important things is defining and classifying the transportation network. And that's where you want neighborhood streets, higher volume streets, freight streets, things like that in the future. Identify and prioritize improvements needed in the next 20 years to meet minimum service levels that are identified by the city. Identify areas improvements that require additional study or analysis. And so because this plan is focused on the whole city, it can only get to certain levels of detail. And so there may be some places where we say this is a really complicated intersection or corridor or issue, and we know we need to study it further, but we just don't have the time to do that now. So we'll mark that as a project. It must define metrics for evaluating system performance. Folks may be familiar with level of service as a very common one, but there's many others that can be used. And it must determine fiscal constraints, which I talked a little bit about earlier.
Nick's really showing you three things now in sequence: the must, should, and can. Where did those come from? The state of Oregon wrote guidelines for how one prepares a TSP. And so we have to achieve these musts. The next two, which are the shoulds and the cans, are up to the city and its citizens whether or not we include them as a part of the process.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. So moving on to the shoulds, that includes setting street standards or providing design guidance, informing improvements needed with upcoming development, consider future transportation trends and innovations like AI, intelligent transportation systems, smart streets, as well as kind of provide a process for the community and the city council to really talk about advancing policies and programs that may support the transportation system, whether that's safe routes to school, travel options, parking policies, things like that. Getting into what transportation systems can do. So it can investigate transportation needs of expansion areas such as Sherwood West. It can develop alternative performance measures and standards, as well as advance new policy directives.
So that's about the quickest TSP 101 that you could get. And again, over the next 18 to 21 months, you're going to live the experience of developing this plan. And by the end of it, you'll be able to teach this course at the 300 level. If you have any questions now, happy to take them. But again, throughout the process, at any point, if you're wondering, why are we doing this, or what will this really accomplish? Stop us, ask the question, let's have a conversation about it.
So can we take a moment and just kind of catch what happened in history here?
Sure.
Keith, you said you've gone 2 cycles before on a transportation plan?
There's a lot of challenges to these exercises. They're important. You try to create a vision and a plan. And then things change that are out of your control. Either development cycles change, the rules that are imposed on you by others. We're at the bottom of the pile when it comes to laws. So we turn around and have to get influenced by the county. We get influenced by Metro, state, and the feds. So those rules just keep pivoting. And this is a vision and a plan. And then you kind of get kicked in the teeth in the reality, from a funding perspective. So we've done some things well. We've tried to make changes to some roads for years, and it's not a city road. So that, you can't control ODOT and 99. You can't control the county. There's obviously Tualatin Sherwood Road is a county road. Elwert is a county road. Edie is a county road. A big part of Oregon is a county road. Rookman is a county road. So it was a big deal when we got the Edie speed reduced. We've been trying to do safety improvements, and it's now in the queue with the county to do safety improvements on Edie. The improvements in Twalton Sherwood Road, we originally got that approved through the county. There's a county funding mechanism that was approved back in 2012. So sometimes it's a pretty long cycle. Because again, the county road, kind of county and community dollars, it was plucking along well, and then there was a lawsuit about the project. The developers or the owners of the land that owned what was the Albertson Shopping Mall sued the county, along with the owners of the land under the theater sued the county. So that stalled it. Then the Willamette Water Supply Group came along and said, "Oh, we want to bring a new water supply up to most of the county." And so they said, "Oh, let's partner with the county." And that was all smart, but it also delayed things. The project got done in a different way, saved the county money, got a little bit more of the project done, but it also delayed things. So that's kind of an example of other things. And then tools come and go. We thought we had a tool available to us to improve Brookman through the county. And then as soon as, being a little snarky here, but as soon as Hillsborough and Tigard used it, they took the tool away. And we're still trying to get that tool back, but it irritated a few of us. That's some of it. You know, we've done some things well, but
it helps to know when we have victories, we need to capture our victories and celebrate them. Those are victories to me, right?
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I got radar gunned on Edie not too long ago, so they're out there doing their job over.
Yep.
As far as that goes.
For projects like the pedestrian bridge and some of the roundabouts, results of the last TSP?
The pedestrian bridge was not. Pedestrian bridge, I brought that idea up in 18 when I got reelected mayor. Because I said here, I was away from elected office for 5 years. And during that time, the school district decided to put the new high school where they're putting it. If I was to pick a spot, I wouldn't have picked that spot, but we're different entities. So they put that there, and as it was under construction, I came back and said, it really made, kids, youth are a priority to me. And so I said, it makes no sense we need to take the children out of the mix whenever we can. So that was outside the TSP process. It was like an addendum. We had to do an addendum. Yeah. And it was possible in no small part because we were able to form an urban renewal district and use that for part of the funds. We also got a grant from the state through the lottery to help do the project. So that was outside the mix for sure.
But this process will look at modeling and possibly future improvements that would identify that needs to be in this vision, this 20-year vision. So this is the opportunity through the modeling, as far as identifying, should there be more roundabouts? Should there be different, an increase in regards to capacity as far as the new roadways in Sherwood West? That is an entirely different project in the sense that the concept plan has just been finalized and that area has now been placed inside the urban growth boundary. And now the city is tasked with doing a comprehensive plan on it. That will also include the infrastructure segments. But this is the committee that will be looking at where should the roads connect, like connectivity, where are the missing gaps? Where should, from arterial roadways to collectors to neighborhood routes. We don't really typically go all the way down to the local street. We just figure when the developer comes, they'll figure out the grid patterning in regards to that. But again, we're going to be looking at arterials, collectors, neighborhood routes, typically.
Sidewalks,
definitely-
bikeways, trails.
Right, all those other aspects, but an important note for all of you to just be aware that a lot of the roadways are not just local roadways that are owned and maintained by the city of Sherwood. We have to be partners with ODOT, who owns Highway 99. We have to be partners with Washington County that owns a lot of the major arterials, Roy Rogers, 12th and Sherwood Road, all of the ones that Councilor Mays identified earlier on. So there is, you know how on the CFAC slide, it talks about coordination.
Right.
That's coordinating with all of those partners. The other agencies, we're also coordinating with agencies like Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. We want to make sure that fire, is accessible in regards to what we're creating. So we have lots of people at the table just looking at this from a transportation point of view.
So we'll have access to current maps to really look in at all these details.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They'll,
Lots of maps.
yeah, lots and lots of maps, exactly.
I think a short answer to your question though is, yes, this is the spot where we do get projects in theory, like the pedestrian bridge into a plan.
Okay.
It just happened to be that we didn't have it in there and we needed it and it was amended in, but I think you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
To get new improvements.
And there are things in the plan you'll see that maybe need to be changed. And there's things that we've had on the plan for 20 years that we still haven't built. We own the right of what, we have a wonderful trail system on this side of 99 through some neighborhoods. It's still not, there's still more to be done. We own most of the stream corridor in the existing city limits on the other side of 99, and the trail is just ready to be built. It's just a matter of funding. We have a few ideas, and the biggest is the sewer agency needs to put another sewer pipe through it. And when they do that, we hope to put the trail on top of it.
Which will go first, the trail or the sewer?
Sewer, absolutely. So we just have to make it.
It has a tendency to do things backwards, so.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. We try to be, but
No,
again, circumstances.
Actually, there's a creek, you built a walkway and I pass it like 3 times a day. There is not a human being. It would be nice to have a counter to see how much all of these little creek paths, this is wood made out of wood. And I've got it, if it's Cedar or Cedar Creek, or I don't, because I'm on the other side of 99. I have never seen a human being cross that. And I'm thinking, that costs money. So, and I'm a business person, and I just see a lot of money spent, and I don't think there's enough studies or whatever. I mean, excuse me, I just heard you say that it was your idea, the bridge to nowhere, but it'll be interesting how many children. I've never seen anybody cross 99 from the school, so other than dog walkers.
I live
But-
close to 99. I see a lot of people cross, actually. My son's gonna be one of those people because he's about to
So you
be a
so you're
freshman at high school.
next to the roundabout.
So I'm on the side of the YMCA side.
Right. Okay.
So if you
you're
go
on that
down
side.
Sunset, we're in that first
So he
street you
crosses
turn
90
on.
now.
Yeah, him and his friends already have been crossing because he's going to summer camp at the high school, actually. So they walk across 99 actually some days.
But, I mean, I understand the safety part, but I can't imagine the cost, and they're still working on it, and they're pouring concrete, and I have absolutely, I mean, I used to work for an architect, and I don't see a plan. All I see is cement, and it just boggles my mind, but that's
Right.
only my opinion.
Just note that I crossed
Did you?
99 right at sunset on my first bike ride today.
Congratulations.
My second one was to the physical therapist, so.
Great. And I do know that the pedestrian bridge will officially open sometime in September. Is that correct? As far as,
Yeah, that's September, October, somewhere in there.
right,
Yeah,
so,
I'm surprised the school has been open as long as it has without some type of safer access for kids to cross.
And if you talk to
And hopefully it's
Parents
gonna
of
lessen
students
the
go there.
parent traffic going
Yep.
over to the school.
If I had a high school age son or daughter, and I lived on this side of 99, I would be dropping them off, with a vehicle.
We also get a bus route exception because
Right.
of 99.
Yeah.
And so there are bus routes.
I
that
have
exist.
five.
The thing is there's a lot of congestion because you have people from Newburgh. I leave at 5:30 in the morning. I'm at that roundabout because I live on Kruger Road. And so there is just a masses of people and literally the yield means nothing because young children don't heed signs. So they're constantly going. I mean, it's amazing that there hasn't been a crash, but I do hear the ambulances sometimes during the night. And I'm just sort of saying, I think there's such a congestion right there and so much to see. And when trucks, those semi trucks that go to Newburgh, I see the lights go off, those traffic lights, the ticket lights, and they just go off because again, whoever, I would like if you would put the signals, the green light further down, because if you're coming from 99 going towards Newburgh, you don't see the green light or the red light until you're almost there. There's just a slight hill. And I think it's just really bad planning, but that's just my opinion.
Well, these are the things we're going to be discussing.
Okay.
Trying to first identify what are the issues, the challenges, the needs, and then what are practical ways to address them that we can afford and be confident that when we make the investment, it's going to pay off. So good discussion. Thank you. We're going to keep moving along. We can always come back to things. The next part of this is really to help you understand what are your roles and responsibilities as committee members. And they're fairly straightforward. Go ahead, Nick, thanks. First and foremost, attend, whether it's physically in person, which is wonderful. I hope you can make this work more often than not, but when you can't, by all means, join remotely. If you've not participated that way, it's pretty straightforward. There are a few buttons you have to kind of get accustomed to, but we will be monitoring so that if you have a question, if you want to make a comment, we'll look for you to raise your hand and then we'll interrupt and take the question or comment just as we would if you were here in person. And so that's always available to you. Between meetings, again, find ways to be a source of input for voices other than your own. Be a representative, in other words, is one of those key roles in all of this. Spread the word to your neighbors and friends. Yeah. As we get into discussion, as we have debates about what's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, all I ask is that we do it politely, respectfully. We're going to have differences of opinion. That's not surprising. And what we're looking for is consensus. We don't always get there, but we do want to reach a point where most of us or all of us are either nodding our heads yes or not shaking our head no. You know, being neutral is okay. Being vehemently opposed to something, equally okay, but it may mean that we need to have more conversation to understand that before we move forward. So
I'll add too that the TSP is a tool for development and large developers, and we need to work together to come up with projects that, you know, for outside developers. So there is a common goal in the end, even if we have differences on what sort of projects we want. It's to work together. Really, that's the crux of the TSP is outside development and large development, not impacting the city.
Yeah. I mean, Sunset Boulevard was not built by the city. It was built by the developers of the Woodhaven neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a great example because that is, again, one of the critical aspects of this plan is it doesn't just tell the city what to go and build, but it tells the city how to direct development to occur in a way that accomplishes the community's goals and objectives. Yeah. Any questions about those responsibilities? Anything that you kind of cringe at? If not, then we're in.
I just cringe at the, trying to just navigate the new rules. They keep changing the rules and the process. And so I'll be learning some things. I'm sure I'll be frustrated.
Well, we'll do what we can to soften the frustration.
So as clarification in regards to process, once we have like a final draft in regards to the plan itself, it actually goes through the planning commission for them to review, and they make a recommendation to city council for final adoption. So I just want to let you guys know that there is, after our work is complete, there's the legislative process that goes through the planning commission and then to city council.
So does the planning commission just say yay or nay, or do they go in and actually make changes possibly to the plan?
Every level can change it.
Yep. And we are supposed to, Tyler Barnes is the planning commission representative, but he's not here in attendance, but he's supposed to be sitting at this table so that they're fully aware, because he would relay the message as far as he attended and this is what we went over, so that there really isn't any major surprises, or if there are, he can come back to the next meeting to bring that up, so then we can reevaluate it. So the ultimate goal is that they're involved in this process early on, so there shouldn't be any major surprises at the end.
So with these meetings that we'll be attending here, I'm assuming they're normally like hour and a half long meetings. Aside from spreading the word and getting other input, is there any other work or homework we'd be doing in between meetings to help move this along?
Yeah, later in this presentation, but I'm happy to frankly pull it forward. We generate, as part of this process, we generate what we call technical memoranda. Each one has a very specific purpose, and we will deliver those memoranda to you at least a week ahead of our meetings, ask you to read them, come prepared to discuss the content. We'll have a meeting, discuss the content. You'll still have another week after the meeting is over to reflect further on the discussion and the content, provide us any final input to that. We convert that from a draft document to a final tech memo, as we call it. Those become the building blocks, if you will, of the plan. So there'll be a tech memo about existing conditions. There'll be a tech memo about funding. They become, in a way, they become a chapter to the final document. Yeah, so you get to see this thing built incrementally. You get to watch the sausage being made, in other words.
Okay.
Yeah. And help make it, yeah.
And be assured, this is the Citizen Advisory Committee. We have a technical advisory committee too that consists of all of our city agencies that are adjacent to us, or cities that are adjacent to us. We have representatives, and also like Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. So it's not just the citizens that's leading this. There is a technical group that is also looking at the same technical memo that you guys will be, and guiding us just to make sure it's consistent with ODOT, Washington County, Metro, TriMet, all of their standards, just to make sure there isn't any conflict and that coordination is happening.
Okay.
And Joy, is that a public meeting as well?
It is. It is, and typically it happens in the afternoon. the same day as your meeting. It was from 3 to 4:30 today. But yeah, we also sent notice on that as far as a week ahead and posted it through 5 different areas throughout the city as far as our billboards, just to notify the community that there's like one at the senior center, one at YMCA, the post office, and 2, the first floor and the second floor of this building.
Is there any notices like that put online or anything? Like, I've never seen a notice about any of those.
It's on the website as well.
Okay.
I don't do social media, so I have no idea if it's on social media.
So we've created a TSP update website that has all of the meeting materials on there a week ahead, like when I send it out to all. So if you want to share this information, feel free to send it to them. The other thing that I would like you to consider in the future, we're going to be doing some public engagement. Like I did some engagement as far as Jason and I did at Robin Hood, where we were just collecting email addresses for people to be on the interested parties list. Because again, this is a 18 to 24 month process. So just getting the word out. But ultimately, probably within this process, there'll probably be an open house where we would like you as a representative of the Citizen Advisory Committee to attend, or even all these outreach as far as engagement. You can accompany us to present what we're doing, especially come next year. Well, we're going to have a significant amount of information to present to the community.
Great, thanks, Joy. Well, we finally got to the point where we can have even more of a dialogue, because this is where we wanted to introduce the idea of a vision statement for the actual transportation system plan. And then supporting that vision statement are goal statements. These all ultimately become a part of the document. They really drive the purpose of the document, and a way in which ultimately converting these goals to measures, how we measure our progress toward achieving those goals. What you're about to see is all first drafts. I'll give you a little bit of background in terms of how did we come up with the wording, where did the ideas come from. But these need to be your words. They need to be the words of the Sherwood community, not something that a consultant dreamed up. And so that's, again, really where we're relying heavily on all of you to help us find the right words to express this in meaningful ways from the community's perspective. The other thing I'll say as an introduction to all of this is not only is this a first draft, but these things are going to stay in draft form for months. They need to kind of grow and evolve as our learning process grows and evolves throughout this. There'll come a point where, as I just said, we're going to convert goals to evaluation criteria or ways of measuring, is this alternative better than that alternative to accomplish this vision? And again, we need to kind of let these things live and breathe until we can apply that criteria and see if the result makes sense to us as a community. And if they do, then we got it right. And if they didn't, then there's something that we have to tweak. So I want you to feel comfortable with the fact that these are going to be drafty for a while. The other thing that can happen is fundamentally the challenge of, in our pursuit of finding the right words, wordsmithing. And wordsmithing by committee is tedious at best. So we're going to try and avoid that to the extent that we can. Okay. With all of that preamble, Nick, if you'll pull up the next slide, I'll quickly kind of go through some of the background. How did we get the words that we have? They started through interactions that we had with City Council at the very beginning of our process of scoping this whole project. was to ask the council, what's important to you? What's important to the community about transportation? And they gave us input along those lines. Then we went and did some homework. On the next slide, you'll see we began to look at a list of documents that provided us perspectives on what are the plans for the city, and like your comprehensive plan, for example, and the city council's strategic goals for very near term 25, 26. A variety of resources, in other words, that are all based here in Sherwood. There were some other things like this climate friendly and equitable communities rulemaking, some outside influences, of course. But as much as possible, Nick, if you'll go to the, goal development, these were the things that we really wanted to make sure we were grounded in, trying to find your words in print wherever we could. And from those, then, we drafted the first thing, which is the vision statement. This is the same statement that's in your packet. The only thing that's different here from the page that's in your packet is I've gone ahead and put certain words in bold. And I've done that purposefully because as I see those words, they really provide critical guidance to some of the what and the why. I'm even going to go so far as to read this out loud. In the end, what I'm looking for here initially is a sense from you. Does it make sense? Do I understand the words? Do I see kind of the purpose, the intent behind what we have here? And is that intention, are those purposes in alignment with what you understand the community to be and to think? If we're on the right track, great. If we're off track, by all means, flag it, and we'll figure out a way of addressing that. But what we've got here for now is Sherwood plans, designs, and coordinates the provision of a safe, efficient, reliable, and cost-effective transportation system to meet the growing needs of the community. The system comprises many modes and is designed, equipped, operated, and maintained to sustainably complement adjacent land uses by being seamlessly connected, accessible, resilient, livable, economical, and environmentally friendly. Businesses and neighborhoods thrive, and people of all means, ages, and abilities have a variety of viable and evolving travel options to meet their daily needs. It's a lot of words.
So on ours, it says many modes of travel, which isn't up there. Should we cross that out on our?
Yes, my apologies. Yeah.
I was thinking, would it help for us to potentially share comments from our TAC with the group at all? Just one of it all, when we have future CAC meetings, it might help for us to get some bullet points from the TAC and just share. I mean, one of the comments was run it through, I don't know what the gentleman from the county said, a simplification application where maybe we can have, so we're not going into the weeds of everything of this version and a simplified version next time. So that was one of the comments. I think it might help just to sum up some of the tax comments, so we're not providing kind of the same feedback at future meetings. That was just an idea, but I just wanted to mention.
That is typically what we should be doing as far as what we've done before in other plans, is that after the technical advisory committee meets, any suggestions or recommendations, we would present that to the committee. So then for you guys to consider. That's an automatic. The other comment outside of simplifying the language was considering needs over time as far as technology. Technology is evolving. Autonomous vehicles, making a comment in regards to that within the vision statement. Those were the only two that I got from the vision statement as far as from the technical advisory committee. Okay.
I wouldn't put autonomous vehicles in a vision statement
No, I don't.
at all. Because
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Is this the
Gene.
time that you'd like some broad comments about it?
Please, yeah.
Okay, I'll have two sort of intertwined, and this also comes from my sitting on the Park and Recreation Advisory Board as well, which I didn't mention earlier. When I look at the words that are used here, I don't see words that, they're all very basic utilitarian, or almost all, things like enjoyment, pleasant, things that we actually want, as opposed to things that we need. It really isn't present in there at all.
Okay.
So the sense of a transportation system has also a recreational resource, which a lot of pathways actually are there. Like Cedar Creek is a prime recreational resource. And there's no sense of that in the vision statement here.
Okay. Thank you.
great comment.
Yeah, other thoughts, first impressions?
This is the cynic in me with consultants. How different is this proposed vision statement compared to a neighboring city's proposed vision statement from a consultant? So it's like, what is unique about this proposed vision statement to Sherwood? James has made a great point. Our trail system is also part of our recreation. I'm very glad to hear that. That definitely is more unique to Sherwood compared to other communities.
Things that I would highlight, some of these words come directly out of your documents. Things like resilient. Resilient, reliable were two words that really struck me in some of the documents that we reviewed. Another broad recognition here in Sherwood is the importance of businesses and the economy, as well as the livability of the community for the residents and visitors. So some communities put one higher than the other. I didn't find a strong distinction, but I saw that both were important.
Yes, exactly, like purpose and I just forgot the other word, but it should everything. As a German, I come from Austria, and I live in a little bit, where I did live in a little village, but everything had a function. You know, it isn't that you feel good or that it's this, it needs functionality and durability and those kind of things. The feel-good things come automatically when you build something good, like an extra bench or something like that. My 2 cents.
Well, let's press forward, because we can always come back. And as a time check, by my clock, we're at 6:38. We have until 7 o'clock. We're doing fine on time. So don't hold back. In other words, worried that we won't get through everything. The next 2 slides show you a total of 5 draft goals. We're not restricted in terms of the number of goals that we have. I will tell you that the more you have, the more complicated it gets later when you're trying to score projects and you have a lot of things to try and score. So there is some practicality to a fewer number. But what's most important is that the categories that these goals address are strong enough categories to stand on their own, but then collectively, shall we say, cover the bases. And so when I look at the 5 goals or categories, I kind of see characteristics or dimensions of the transportation system. So the first one is safe. It's safe for me to put safe up on any TSP goal list. because everybody needs and wants a safe transportation system. After that, it starts to really represent more the perspectives of the local community. So if you could see both slides at once, you'd see safe, sustainable, and then dependable, accommodating, and connected. They're kind of single word placeholders trying to represent a concept, but with a definition behind each one of them. And this is where the test of all of us, but through you especially, is kind of the first question. Do these 5 categories do a good job? Or if there's something missing that's of consequence, what is it? And then we frame a definition around that. And then within a definition, of course, there's other words and terms that we use that may have to be massaged or refined. So I'm just going to pause, let you read this slide first, and then see if you've got reactions, concerns, just about these first 2.
Broad question is,
Yeah.
I, a typical number that would be used here, 5 categories.
So
before,
it's for me, I can tell you quickly, it's a range. I've
There's no
done a
set-
TSP with
set.
4. I've done a TSP with 12. I've done about 50 TSPs. So yeah,
5 or 6 probably manageable. I'll provide some additional comments since our the TAC meeting. Really we're focusing on the categories. These seem more like purposes, and then the goals, I was thinking where planning commission gets involved in the city council. This is probably the one area where they will want to pick specific goals. So if we could focus on providing more than one option, that might help. Having specific goals might cause some issues. I don't know.
There's
Right
definitely
now.
some, and I think on this table, they're on the table here as well, but there's definitely some individuals on planning commission and city council that love to wordsmith. And that's because we're passionate and involved. It's not uncommon, but
Would that be more of a synopsis, is focus on the categories, do these categories work? And then, so I think of a goal and having a specific end, start and end, and how specific do we want the goals of the TSP to be? I don't know at this point in time.
yeah, it's hard to know at this point in time how specific we should get. I think that becomes more clear the deeper we get.
Yeah, I'm thinking
get
like
into this.
the Vision Zero policies that some agencies adopt. Right. We may not want to make that a goal right here tonight, but adopts certain aspects of the safe streets approach and
Right.
things like that.
Right. So Jason, so think about, these are just overarching goals. We're probably going to have policies following that as far as almost like an action policy as far as to implement it. So the goal itself is very broad, and then we'll have policies after.
That's trying to clear up of
Yeah.
more broader range goals purposes here versus specific.
I feel you'd use the word vision at the beginning of this little exercise.
Yeah.
So this is basically a visioning process.
That statement ahead of this goal slide is meant to be a vision. It's meant to convey what you hope the end state of your transportation system will be some point in the future, maybe 20 years from now. Yeah. And then these goals are ways in which we move in that direction.
Understood.
I think one issue I have with the safe part is when it's saying travelers, it's in my mind, I'm thinking specifically like people in a vehicle and cars, but I think the safe should also incorporate pedestrians and everybody that is affected.
So you have multiple modes, Sean. You're doing electric bikes these days.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's what that Vision Zero program does too. It looks at the vehicle safety and then the pedestrian safety by itself and then the bicycle safety by itself.
Okay. Yeah, I put that, a note to look more into what that Vision Zero is. I'm not familiar with it.
Well, I think they changed the name of it in like safer streets, safe streets.
Okay, I saw that on here too.
I should know.
Smart streets.
Safer streets,
Safe system
safe
approach.
system, yeah. I did some training on it, but.
So this,
Yeah.
this highlights how we read things. So you saw the word traveler, and for you, that's more often someone in a vehicle, in a motor vehicle. We use the word traveler to be generic,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean that's how we read it, right? And
Right.
we chose traveler as opposed to pedestrian, bicycle, transit, motor vehicle.
Okay.
We can insert the list if in the end you all believe that, again, a layperson from the community reading this for the first time, it would make better sense to them.
Sure.
Because we want this document to be accessible to the public, not just for us technical folks.
To drive that point home, maybe you just, you know, in the first line of the well-being of all travelers. I don't know, travelers definitely hits the point, but you know.
Well, I was going to add a very similar thing. That was actually what I had in my mind on the wordsmithing, but I wanted to ask if this is a really good chance for us to write something after the meeting to you with wordsmithing in it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the value of the week after the meeting,
Okay.
is the chance to do exactly that. And especially with something like this, where again, it's going to be difficult to come to conclusion in a committee format at the time, for the time being. And so my emphasis would be, look at the categories that the goals are trying to represent and ask the question, are there any missing categories or aspects or dimensions of our transportation system that these 5 don't adequately introduce or cover? If there's something missing, put a word to it or a phrase or a definition, whatever works for you. And then come back and study the wording that tries to define the concept like safe. And if the wording is inadequate, we're very open to any kind of edits. Yeah. Yes.
Is sustainability required to be a goal because of the new rule?
No, no. From our read of the various documents that we've talked about, sustainable is an important characteristic when we look at your documents, that, and how you define sustainable is somewhat consistent with how you might find it in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, but you also give acknowledgement to sustainable. The notion of efficiency is inherent to sustainability as it's defined in the dictionary, and the economic and environmental benefit. Those 3 things are kind of core to the notion of sustainability.
So we just avoided 3 categories basically. Sounds like, but we're not doing environmental and long lasting, and I think that's kind of the idea, was to roll it all up into one bullet.
Yeah.
Well, there's sustainable, like you could put in a thicker pavement section that's going to last longer. That's sustainable.
Yes.
But are you kind of clumping this all together? So that could be that, also adding some road that cuts trips down. You could try, is it all kind of
It's all in there, and the how you read it, you know, you can see different things. When I think of and read sustainability in a transportation plan, it's the last line and a half. It's feasible, cost effective, able to be maintained efficiently, cost effective to build. Those are my primary, and then other things, you know, kind of.
You just got me thinking though that each of these bullet points that we come up with should be in the end tied to a performance measure, potentially.
Potentially, yes. Yeah, which is a bit, I think, Jason, what you get to, I don't know
Other
if you
stuff
were headed there.
we're required by law, trying to, trying to have a plan that demonstrates reducing trips. What things that we control, and yet a lot of it we don't control.
I think so. I guess I was, my thought was that, I can't necessarily come up with a specific example, but some of those different elements within that could be contradictory.
Yes,
Environmental, sustainability versus cost-effective sustainability might
exactly.
counter.
Yeah,
So if they're all the same goal, then how do you fight that battle when you're deciding if something is meeting a goal or not?
often what happens is, as Joy kind of alluded to, after these goals, we're going to end up with objectives. And to Jason's point, we then often connect a performance measure to the objective. So I may have a performance measure that tells me how cost effective a strategy is. And I may also have a performance measure that talks about environmental impact. They both reside under this goal, sustainable, and they measure different things that can be in conflict with one another. And that's where your job becomes harder, right? Of trying to weigh which of those objectives has greater importance to you and therefore causes you to go left versus right.
Julie knows though, I think.
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
no, it's spot on.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Split this out.
Can I ask something about the intent of dependable?
Sure.
What I see is the key thing is effectively move people and goods within the community and to regional gateways. That's the one that allows us to get places fast. Is that what this is really
Not
about?
necessarily fast, it just so that it is reliable, dependable.
Okay.
So fast
Yeah, that's,
isn't necessarily.
that's
Unless you want to specify.
Yeah.
So, as my friends in other parts of the county and state, the region, drummed into me. Just. So you can kind of expect to get from point A to point B in so much time doing whatever mode of transportation.
yeah. So the upgrade on Tualatin Sherwood Road would fit really well under dependable though. Because you'll have a reliable travel time now down to Tualatin.
For a period of time until it gets filled up with food trips again.
Yes, indeed. Point taken.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and again, in the highlighted fashion, which you don't have in the packet, we highlighted reliable and resilient, which is different than fast, to your point.
Yeah.
And we chose these words because they come out of your document. You don't have documents to talk about fast roadways.
Right. Okay.
You talk about your roadways and your transportation system being something that people can feel comfortable using. They can count on it being there. Count on it meaning dependable meaning reliable. It's there whether the snow falls, the ice storm happens, right? It's going to be there because you provided it and you're maintaining it.
Yeah, and the part of the challenge that we'll have, and in this time, is we don't control what we don't control. We don't control what happens in Granville County in relation to us. We don't control what happens in Tualatin or Tigard or Beaverton in relation to us. But how we make decisions and make recommendations and make investments, we do our best. And the nature of transportation of whatever mode, the I can't remember the exact phrase, but someone will find the empty lane. So if XYZ road is jam-packed, well, before you know it, the pedestrians, the bicyclists, the vehicles will find that shortcut that isn't being used at the moment.
Right.
Like Roy Rogers when it first got opened and straightened, no one was on it.
That's true. So we've got about 8 minutes left and I need about 5 minutes to cover important material that I haven't gotten to yet, which says we have 2 or 3 minutes more for questions, comments about anything that's in front of us at the moment. Anyone have other thoughts they want to share at this stage?
Or the yes, no, they're connected. There is accessible travel options. Does that imply that all options should be generally acceptable, and B, do publicly funded options need to be accessible? I'm thinking that there are different kinds of pathways, some of which are accessible and some of which are not.
Yeah, so the word accessibility has a very important federal definition behind it. And then there's a broader general definition of accessibility. When I think about the concept of access, do I have the ability to get from my home to the grocery store? That's access, or broadly, the notion of accessibility. And accessibility in that context is important to the Sherwood community based on our quick read of your documents early in our process. So that's why we adopted the word accessibility in that format, not meaning the federal format of ADA compliance, you know. Nonetheless, we want to make the system.
We've made a commitment as a city council, but for the city to be an accessible community for all. And it originated from the senior center, senior advisory committee, and the AARP was really relevant to all, so that, you know, if our oldest in our community can navigate our streets, sidewalks, then the young families with the toddlers and kids can do. So we have that already kind of enshrined as part of an objective. And then standards evolve over time. You probably see in town over most cities in a 10-year process mandated by the state, you know, are replacing all of the corner sidewalk cutouts, and things change, and we're trying to make sure that we follow the new law and the new standard to make those ramps much safer for all.
Can I add on connected here, since our CAC meeting earlier today? Potentially, this is pretty broad, but considering in addition to the 3 modes of transit that can be considered data to be a mode, and really roads are our first communication superhighway that we had, but really, as we're selecting projects, if a project has potentially Sherwood broadband or is a resilient corridor and it's going to be connected with data, it needs to be prioritized. So I think that might be good to add data to this section and not have it be its own section.
Okay. Data or technology or something to represent that.
Yeah, utilities, so connected meaning, let's, you know, think about everything as we consider transportation, but really the communication of data is part of the transportation system, I think.
If we were to add that, does it help with future analysis for reasons why the average trip lengths are improving?
There's the ITS plan that the county has to have that does kind of monitor the traffic system. That we asked.
No, I'm just, so as part of the state, you know, the new state rules of reducing trip length.
Right.
You know, part of our efforts to kind of do that is by promoting business activity in town, economic development, of a variety of types, be it hospitality, industrial, retail, to try to have more people that can live and work in town from being a very much a bedroom community. So as that improves, that automatically should shorten trip lengths because people aren't going to be traveling to be original like some people do every day.
But does that model that you talked about that
Yeah.
measures the household travel and everything, is that taking into account people working remotely and
so
people,
Yeah.
business
part of what
owners?
you're saying, and do you, is that part of the
Yeah.
argument for putting the goal of fiber?
Yeah,
internet?
the short answer is we attempt to make the model representative of what we know today, which is different than what it was 5 years ago, pre-COVID, right? And we're also trying to make the model predict the future, which we can't. So how can a model do it? But it does understand to the extent we can teach it. In other words, this notion of remote work is much more common than it used to be, and affecting more industries than it used to affect. So yeah, it is represented in the model.
So Jason, I'm in favor of your idea, that there's one voice of many, if that helps that argument. If not, it's not a transportation.
Yeah, so we'll have further discussion in regards to that, because I'm just trying to figure out. It definitely was identified under the comprehensive plan that we just adopted in regards to broadband and the importance of that. So I'm just not quite sure if it's under the umbrella of transportation, but we'll have further
No,
discussion.
good point on the land, with the connects multiple land uses locally might be a tool for the BMP.
All right.
So I'm going to push us all the way forward to, in your packet, the schedule, the top, it says schedule 18 to 21 month timeline. Because I can do many things with this one slide. Earlier I was talking, Shauna asked a question, and part of my response was, yes, you will have homework. You're going to read a bunch of tech memos. And I'm going to apologize right up front. They're going to be dense. They're going to have lots of graphics and maps and stuff to really challenge your minds. But it's important. And so what this schedule conveys is a variety of things. The rows that you see down the left side are the different tasks or steps that we will go through in this process. Virtually every one of those steps is going to produce a technical memoranda that you'll be reviewing. You see kind of orange colored boxes across, yellowish orange boxes across the schedule. Those are our anticipated meetings with you. We currently anticipate having a total of 8 meetings with you over the next 18 to 21 months. So roughly 1 meeting for each memo, because there'll be 9, if I recall correctly, that we'll be reviewing. So some meetings will in fact have 2 memos to review and discuss in 1 meeting format. And we may even amend our meeting length in a circumstance like that, so that we've got the time to cover both memos, as the case may be. So as we work through the schedule, we'll be meeting with you, and we don't really make progress until we've had that meeting and you've understood the content and you agree that it makes sense, and then we move forward to the next step. So it's kind of that stepwise process that plans typically have to go through. So that covered all of the ground that we hope to cover with you this evening. So we're officially done, except to adjourn for the evening. We very much appreciate you committing to this, being here tonight, and for being willing to voice your thoughts, ask your questions, challenge us, because again, we want to get it right, and we want it to be more your plan, your language than ours, but we need your help to get it there. Yeah.
So comments in regards to your thoughts as far as the goals, feel free to send them my way and Phil within a week would be great. So then we can just gather and then ultimately, as we work through all of them, we'll send them out again. But I will also send out the latest in regards to the presentation so that you guys have the latest.
So will we, after the week timeframe is over, will we all collectively get something sent to us so we can see the whole summary of comments that people submitted?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And that'll take a little bit of time.
Right.
But yeah, and that will follow. And I think especially tonight, what we should do to help you is to give you the text from the vision statement and the goals. We'll give that to you in a Word document. I know some people like to be able to just make the direct edit themselves versus having to write something out, and I'm happy to support that. So Joy, tomorrow,
Yep.
we'll give it to you and then you can send it out. You'll get it via email. And then, yeah, up to a week from now, we're excited to get any feedback you have.
So do you have our next meeting date set?
No, we don't. At this time, it's showing October, but it may fluctuate depending if we have certain materials ready, because we want to make sure that when we do meet, it's purposeful. So not at this time, but we will, what I'll do is I'll send out save the date once we finalize it. So then, you know, at least a month out. So you can have it on your calendars.
I did want to mention, there aren't a lot of CFEC compliant TSPs out there, so one of the first things I like to do if I'm on a committee is go Google and do example TSP, so there's not a whole lot of them out adopted in the state, so I guess if we could provide
Yeah.
any
the-
cities that have them
The two
adopted.
the two that you could Google, honestly, I would say Tualatin, because it's so close by geographically, you're more familiar with the area. The other one is, the other two, frankly, are Milwaukee and Gresham. Each plan went through an update that's attempts to be CFEC compliant, isn't exactly, because they were all kind of in advance of the full CFEC rules coming into place. But they would give you an inkling of what these things are, what they look like. So
The Tualatin one was done after.
the Tualatin one is largely a policy approach to addressing CFAC. So it
No
didn't change,
capacity.
it didn't change much of the content of the document as a result.
So has your firm participated in a Sherwood TSP previous, or is this the first time?
This is the first one I've been involved in. The last one, the current one that you have was done by a different firm than Kittleson. DKS is the name of the firm.
They provided cost estimates for support. Usually it's one firm or the other completing a TSP updates for communities.
So we didn't bring on a new firm because we were unhappy with how things
No.
went with the last firm or anything like that. Okay.
No.
In the consulting world, that the firms that consult cities, it's not a big list, you know, in a lot of things, especially metro related. So sometimes it becomes a capacity issue too.
Sure.
And one firm might just not have the time to add on, and so you're.
So
No,
there,
we did not pick the PKS because we didn't like the PKS.
yeah, it's a public process as far as requests for proposals,
Okay.
and Kittleson ultimately won the bid.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Gilson.
Yeah.
Cool. PKS company. If I would have raved holy hell if we had hired or proposed hiring
Someone else.
at least one other company that I really do not like. I was very vocal with it, but I like Gilson.
All right, so thank you so much for attending. Greatly appreciate you guys all volunteering, and we'll see you sometime in the fall. Have a great summer. Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Yeah, what time?
Okay.
Happy consumer of just a little bit of senior center stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.